Good evening. My name is Tasha Main, and tonight I'm going to be doing a portion of an introductory health and fitness course that I will hopefully be teaching in the near future. As up to this point in the course, we would have already covered the systems of the body, the benefits of exercise, and the components of an exercise program. Tonight we're going to take all of those parts and we're going to put them together into what's called the fitness principle, or another way of putting them together so that you can prescribe an exercise program either for yourself or for somebody that you might be working with. So to round that out, or another definition, it's basically a formula that you can use to help you with the different components that you're going to need. So starting off with the first part of the principle, which is F, which is going to be frequency. And frequency is how many times per week you want to exercise. Generally, and according to the American College of Sports Medicine, also the Healthy People 2008, you want to exercise at least 3 to 5 times a week. So that's what we want to aim for. The next component is going to be intensity. And intensity refers to how hard you're working. Now, there are 2 different ways that I'm going to focus on to measure the intensity, and one of them is simply by monitoring your body and seeing how you feel. So if you're working very lightly, you won't be sweating, you can talk without any problem, it's nice and easy to do. It could be washing dishes or maybe gardening, nothing too strenuous. Then there's moderate, which you might be slightly sweating, you might notice that your heart rate's up a little bit, and you can talk but you can't sing, so you can hold a conversation. It's also known as the talk test. And then finally, vigorous. And vigorous is going to be when you're working really hard. So you're sweating, you know your heart rate's up, and you can't talk. So that would be an all-out run, or maybe biking, any type of exercise that's going to use a lot of muscle groups. So the other way to do intensity, so you can monitor your body, or you can also look at your heart rate. So, which is obviously more complicated because you have to know how to take your heart rate and figure out what you want your heart rate to be. So there's a formula that you can use that you can figure out your maximum heart rate, which is 220 minus your age, and then you multiply that by the percentage that you're looking for. Most of the recommendations are for 55 to 85% of your maximum heart rate. So as an example, what we would do, so say we have a 50-year-old person. So you would take, it's 220 minus your age, so in this case it would be 50, which gives us 170. That would be your maximum heart rate, so you don't ever want to go above that. And then if you want to figure out what your percentage is, you take that number, the maximum, the 170, and you multiply it by your percentages. So you have your 55%, which is going to be the lower end of your heart rate, and then you have the upper end, which is going to be about 85%. Those numbers can vary slightly. You might see 65 to 90%, you could see 50 to 80%, it really depends on the person and who you're talking to. So in this case, 170 times 55% is going to be 94. Whoops. And so that would be the lower end of your heart rate. The upper end is going to be 145. So that's one way you can monitor your exercise intensity. And what we'll do when we're done going through all of this is we're actually going to do some of these equations together so that everybody gets an understanding of how that works. Yes, Sherry?
Are you going to talk about the problems if you go over that maximum?
Sure. There's generally you want to stay within that range, and it's not too much of an issue if you go over it or under it. It's really going to be based more on your fitness level. So, but that's an excellent question, and we can certainly talk about that when we're going through the problems themselves.
Thank you.
All right. So next we have time. And time is how long you're going to exercise for. Generally, according to, again, the Healthy People 2008 and also ACSM, which follows their guidelines, most people want to try to get at least 150 minutes of exercise a week, and that breaks down to about 5 30-minute sessions. All right, so that's what we want to be shooting for. However, if you've got a beginner exerciser, like 3 sessions of 20 to 30 minutes is just fine, because you want to work them up gradually. You don't want to just have them jump right in. All right, now the type And this is the kind of exercise that you're going to be doing. So for our purposes, we can be talking about aerobic exercise or fitness. You can be talking about strength training. You can be talking about flexibility, many different types of exercise. But what I want to do now is, can somebody give me an example, one or two examples maybe of a type of exercise that you might want to be doing?
My favorite is the elliptical.
Elliptical, wonderful. My favorite currently is rowing. So I get to get out on the water nice and early in the morning. But also some of the other ones, one of my favorites, because it's simple, you don't have to have any equipment, and you can do it anytime, anywhere, is walking. Almost everybody can do it with relatively little difficulty, and again, you don't have to have a gym membership. It doesn't matter necessarily about the weather. You can walk right in front of your television if you don't have any other options. We also have, there's biking, swimming, dancing, group exercise. A lot of people love going to the gym and having that group atmosphere. And like I already mentioned, strength training and flexibility as well. Finally, and this you're not going to see a lot, but this is one that I added in because it's important, is enjoyment. Okay? It's very important that you enjoy the exercise that you're doing, because if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to do it. When I was working in cardiac rehab, I used to have people tell me all the time, well, I'm going to go out and buy an exercise bike, but I really hate the bike. And I'm like, well, then why are you going to buy an exercise bike? So find something that you enjoy and try that or do that, because you're definitely going to be more motivated to stay with it if you do that. All right, so all of these are also put into we have, again, from Healthy People 2000, we're all familiar with the food pyramid, okay? Well, now there's the activity pyramid. So you take all of these different components and how often and putting them all together, and it's shown on a pyramid, and it can give you, again, those components of what you're looking for. So okay, so now that we've looked at all the different components of the fitness principle and what some of the basic ideas are, we're going to take that and we're going to put it together for an individual, somebody who's never exercised before. Okay, so again, looking at frequency again is the number of times a week that you want to be exercising. So this is somebody who's never really exercised before. So generally the range is 3 to 5 times a week. So would you say 3 would be better, 4 or 5? What do you think is a good number?
Let's start them out easy with 3.
Yes, definitely start them out easy with 3 days a week. Okay. Okay, and intensity. We obviously want it to be a pretty low intensity, because most people, if you haven't been exercising, you for one thing, you certainly don't want to hurt yourself. And if you start to try too hard, you could just get discouraged. And if you're not able to do what you think you should be able to do, then you certainly don't want that to happen either. So intensity, as we'd already talked, you're looking at your 55 to 85%. So if you're doing the heart rate, you want to have it definitely more towards the 55. If you're looking at just your body signals, you want to be somewhere between the light and what I would call moderate. So you want to know that you're working, but that's about it. So maybe a slight sweat. Yes?
Do you recommend you get one of those heart rate monitors and wear it?
It's not really necessary.
Okay.
Because listening to your body signals is the best way to go, especially for a new exerciser. So definitely just, you're going to feel your heart rate going up. Again, talk test is great at this level, because as long as you can maintain that conversation, you're good. Okay. So definitely, what I would say in this case, definitely the talk test. And a great way to start out is exercising with a friend. So you go for a walk, you have a nice talk while you're out, and you're doing well. So, and then time, again, this is tough because, if you say, okay, I need to do 150 minutes a week, if you're going based on what ACSM says and the Healthy People 2000. But obviously for a beginner exercise, you don't want to do that because that's too much. So I would say start out with as little as 10 minutes a day, or 10 minutes twice a day. okay? Because it all adds up, so that's the benefit. If you do 10 minutes here and 10 minutes there, you're gonna get the same benefits. So you do wanna shoot for 20 minutes, I would say. But again, you know, depending if you have somebody who's not, you know, able to do 10 minutes, maybe they have a bad back or a bad shoulder, you know, then doing less time is perfectly okay. The ultimate goal is to get them up to that 20, 30 minutes. Yes.
You said that it all counts, so 10 minutes twice a day is just as good as the 20.
Absolutely.
As I recall when I was younger, they stressed in school you need extensive periods of time where you really get hot and sweaty. Has that changed?
For the basic exerciser, yes. Because the main focus and the most important thing is that you're getting out, you're active, you're doing good things. So you don't need to be doing, you know, we need to get away from that whole concept that everybody's this major athlete. All right, we need to get away from the fact that we're not all 20 years old anymore. So, you know, it's more about the fact that you're out there, you're moving, you're burning calories, you're building muscle. That's going to be much more important in the long run than how hard you're working or for how long you're working. Obviously, if you're trying to build your fitness level and maybe you're looking to compete in a road race or something like that, then you do start to need to think about those things over time. But for all intent purposes, for the beginner exerciser, for somebody who's new to the whole thing, you know, just a little bit here and a little bit there is the best. Okay, so then we have, again, type. So we already mentioned walking is great, you know, and it's a great way for people to start because, again, you don't need to buy any expensive equipment. You know, I do want to caution that you want to make sure that you have good shoes. That's very important. But other than that, it's what you're going to enjoy, and it's going to be what's going to be the most convenient for you. And that, again, adds in the whole enjoyment aspect. So we're going to continue working on this. We're going to look at some different situations, you know, look at maybe a younger person, an older person, so different populations, taking these different components, the fitness component, the fitness principle of how many days a week, intensity level, time, type, and we're going to continue to work on putting those all together to start programming, putting together some nice exercise routines for people.
Is there just a general guideline on how you know when you're ready to move up to the next level?
Yes, very good question. Thank you. Generally, a good guideline to go by is as it starts to feel easy. Then you know that you can add a minute or two. So if you're walking and it's been 10 minutes and you feel like you're going to die, you know you've done enough. But over like a week or 2 weeks, then that 10 minutes is going to start to feel easy. So then you know, okay, I'm getting there, I'm making progress, I can start adding a little bit more, or maybe increase your speed or change your route to add in maybe a few small hills or something. But generally, so yeah, most people will be able to figure it out. There's a learning curve, obviously, but over time, people will figure out what works best for them. So we've gone over the FIT principle today. So again, we've got frequency, intensity, time, type, and an enjoyment. And we're going to continue to work with these components, looking at, you know, beginner exercise programs and then moving into maybe a moderate exercise program so that we know how to put it all together.